Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the miniatures and scenery I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And on that note, there is once again a lot of scenery, but it is varied. We have what I'm classing as Warcry terrain, although it is not official, more about that in a second, and some Kill Team terrain. Along with that we have some Kill Team miniatures, and then the rest we have to talk about is a big chunk from Hellboy the board game, which you might remember I played some time ago. And yeah, we'll talk more about that as we get over there. Mostly painted with contrast paint, at least when it comes to the miniatures, and a mixture of techniques for the terrain. Alright, let's move the camera down there and let's talk about this unofficial terrain here. This isn't in its entirety. Along with this kind of main crypt building, two larger statues, there's about 30 or so little graves. It's just part of a 3D printed, not affiliated with any game system crypt set. I found it on Amazon super cheap, and it is definitely 3D printed. You can definitely tell, you can see the filament lines, especially on the bottom, but also just on the thing itself, I suppose. And my idea for it was to have a sort of like vampire crypt setup, so that's why I've kind of done the blood splatter on the door there, and why there's a slight kind of like dried blood look to these statues. I wanted them to appear a little bit corrupted, or maybe that something horrible had happened there, but not recently. Not 100% sure about how the effect worked out, but in terms of what I did painting wise, I spray painted them with Citadel's grey spray paint, whatever that is called. I think it's Basilicanum, but I can't quite remember because that's the name of the contrast paint. Whatever it's called, their grey spray paint can, their generic one. Sprayed all of them in that, and then I did a pretty healthy dry brushing of grey cere, and on top of that I used Bal Red. I think I did a couple of layers for the roofing here. I almost knocked the statue over, but the edge highlighting with the grey cere was just to create a little bit of ambient light. That's Bal Red again, and I used Rattling Grime on the door, and that is blood for the blood god that has been splattered on it. Try to make it look like a handprint had kind of gone like that and then pulled down. Don't really know if that comes across, but for what I paid for a bit of scenery, it's decent enough. You can kind of see the filament lines, but because it's a crypt wall and it's probably like old stone, old etched stone, it doesn't take away from it as much as, say, if you got something that was 3D printed that's meant to be metal and you see all these filament lines, it really takes away from the effect. But when it's stone, marble or similar, I don't think it matters that much. The filament lines are sometimes visible, especially in direct light. Like if I hold it towards the light I've got here, it's probably more obvious. But I think it adds to the effect in the case of stone, so pretty neat, and again, super cheap. And it came with these statues. I did the same technique, the only difference is I applied a watered down, I think this was Blood Angels Red, and just wanted to test the effect I got. I think it's okay. Again, I was going for like hints that something like a sacrifice had happened next to these or something. It wasn't like a recent killing where the blood would be more splattered and obvious. I wanted it to just be a hint that something happened at some point. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. I'll probably do something similar with the gravestones once I eventually get around to it. I'm not going to probably paint all of them because, as I say, there's like 30 of them. But you know, if I get like 10 of them, I think I've got the makings of a nice little crypt set for, was primarily Warcry, but it could absolutely be used for something else in the future. Let's bang out the Kill Team models first. We'll probably handle the terrain last because I don't technically have much to say about it because I am using someone else's technique. I went over that last time, but I do have a couple of things to add specifically using those two bits as examples. So I mentioned last time, because I was finishing off the Reavers in the Bloodraven style for the Phobos Kill Team, that I had a couple more left to do. So as a matter of note, hey, those are done. So now my Phobos Kill Team, refusing to be in focus because of this weird thing on his back. I think, there we go, I believe that's in focus. My Phobos Kill Team now has all the plethora of options available to them for all the potential operatives and generic operatives they can bring. So that's nice. I'm not sure, I don't really care about what's optimal, but I just like variety. So I'm sure we'll see them mixed in here and there. It won't just be all Reavers all the time, although I absolutely want to try all Reavers just to see how it feels. So that is one of them. He's like the Vox Breaker, I think. And then this is the actual model you're supposed to have used for the medic. I kind of made one from spare bits that I've already painted, but this is how he's supposed to officially look. So I just painted him as a medic anyway. You can't bring two medics but at least now I'm using the quote-unquote official model for the medic, for the kill team. So anytime the medic is brought, it'll be this guy, more so than the other one probably, again, other than for variety's sake. But yeah, go back a couple of videos, or a few videos at this point, if you want to hear step-by-step how I paint my Blood Ravens. But I'm not going to tread over old ground here, other than showing off that, hey, that is them done. But I didn't stray too far from them, because some of the techniques used for these guys I have used in my first test miniature for the first ever Mechanicus miniature I've ever painted. And my goodness, these are little guys compared to Space Marines, compared to Vespids, compared to everything else I've been painting from 40k recently. You know, Kill Team, but 40k. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, I've never painted a Mechanicus ever. There is one that came with Blackstone Fortress. I'm pretty sure I never painted him, so I hope I'm not lying accidentally. But I started with the same base for him as I did for the Blood Raven. So that's spray painted with Army Painter Red Dragon, I believe it is called. I didn't do a dry brushing because I didn't want to do anything with the cape prior to washes going on. So after I did that, he was all in red. I then picked out the silver parts with Leadbelcher Silver just on top of the base that was there, the Red Dragon. Then I used a little bit of Brass Scorpion to pick out bronze parts in the armor, and a mixture of Frostheart for like the blue parts on his visor, his whatever that is on his back, and the little dot on his chest there. And Leadbelcher Silver. My Leadbelcher Silver is not great. It's almost ran out and it's very not mixed well now. I'm determined to just use it, but I'm not happy with the effect on the gun. But that's not, yeah, that's, I just have a bad leftover batch of that paint with no replacement, so I'm using it, but that's why the gun doesn't look so great. So just as an explanation, I use Black Legion for the trousers, the parts that aren't metal at least, and I'll talk about the base in a second. So then I went over everything with non-oil, so everything, the red, the silver, everything. And that dulled down the cloak a little bit too much for what I wanted. So then on top of that, outside of the creases where there actually would be shadow where the non-oil picked it up, I reapplied some Bal Red. Or not reapplied, I applied some Bal Red. Just to brighten up parts of it, like the top of the hood. Again, the parts that aren't a crease, or you know, parts that should catch the light on the arms and such, just to bring it back up a little bit. And I kind of like that effect. So I think I'm going to carry on doing that for the rest of them. For the base, I redid the base like 3 times because I was not sure what I wanted to do. I considered doing precisely what I did for the Mandrake kill team, but I want each kill team to have at least a slightly different like base theme. The only exception might be the other side of the Hivestorm box because they were in the same box together, and they have stuff on their bases by default that match Volkus. So that might be the only exception where I'm trying to make them look like how I painted up the Volkus terrain. But for these guys, I wanted something that looked Marsy, but not the way I did it for the Mandrakes. So the way I eventually decided on, I'm actually kind of happy with how this turned out for the base, is I started with AK's Concrete Technical Paint. Talked about it many times. It's fantastic stuff. It is a malleable thing with just the right color that you can turn it into anything. Sand, snow, ash, whatever you need it to be, just apply a color on top and it's what you want. So I started with Agros Dunes because I was like, oh, I just want it to look like sand. So I applied a layer of Agros Dunes contrast paint over it, and then I was like, that's not really what I'm looking for. I do still want to imply Mars, and the dust on Mars isn't actually red, it just looks red. It is more orange. So then I applied Gryph-hound Orange on top of that, and that is the effect you see here, and I'm very happy with it. I tested just applying Gryph-hound without the Agros first on top of the AK Technical Paint, and it feels too bright to me for what I was looking for and what matches how I paint. So I do think you do need to do the Agros Dunes first. That helps give it that kind of two-tone shade in some places. So I'm going to carry on doing that for the rest of the Rangers, the Skitarii Rangers specifically. Yeah, so for a first go ever, I'm hoping that was in focus most of the time, I kind of got distracted rambling there. For my first time ever painting a Mechanicus guy, and I'm really not good at painting little miniatures. I think it turned out okay, and I'm very happy with what I eventually landed on for the base. So over the next few of these updates, probably you'll be seeing more and more of these guys. I'm focusing on just their basic warrior, so they're all just armed thusly, just in slightly different poses. They're not uniform poses, even though it's an old box. And then you've got the specialists, like your leader, the guy with the huge sniper rifle, the guy with the arc rifle, and whatever else. So that'll be working towards the next Kill Team finish for the channel eventually at some point in the future. So let's talk about Hellboy the board game, because we have 3 other of those frog spawn bases. We have the other boss, the other big boss that comes in the core box, which is the horrific tentacle thing. And then we have, I think he's also a boss, although he's human size. It's like the Deacon or something, not really sure. And then we have the other 2 playable characters. I didn't finish it, and I don't know what their names are. So why are these here when, if you watched the couple of videos I did in the Hellboy board game, you'll know I didn't really like it? Well, I didn't like that I didn't finish painting the box. I was 90% of the way there. Well, not specifically. I had precisely 7 miniatures I had not painted from that box, and I intend to sell it on. So I was like, well, I might as well sell it on with it being, here it is completely painted, rather than, oh, here's it mostly painted, but by the way, there's 7 that aren't. So I just decided to paint them, and it was something a bit different, something that wasn't Kill Team. It's just so I could have a little bit of variety, again, because I like variety. So I have talked about these in the past, these frog spawn bases, because I think you get 7 of them in the box. I just hadn't painted these ones because they weren't necessary. So these were just Militarum green, no, they were Mantis Warrior green rather, with Striking Scorpion green to add some mixes, Agrax Earthshade over the top, and also some Nurgling rot, or whatever it's called, the goo around the bases, and then black on the rim. And that was them done, super easy. For the horrific tentacle monsters, the bits of wood he's smashing up through is just rattling grime. For him himself, I started with Athematic blue. I mixed in some watered down Luxian purple towards the base here, and then I did a dry brushing of just a light blue. I can't remember specifically which one, I've got a few, but just it wasn't a dry brush paint. I think it was Calcar blue. No, that's not the light blue one. It's the sky blue Citadel paint. That's what I did, just to pick out the suckers and stuff, just to add a bit more colour. Not super happy with how this turned out, to be honest, but like, it comes like this, so it's not like you can take it apart to make sure you get into every nook and cranny and handle it any better, really. But in terms of colours, it's okay. I tried to match what I could find in terms of like official paint job, and it looks okay. I think it matches the kind of tone of the Hellboy comic, if nothing else. But as far as blending goes, I feel like I could have done better, but that's fine. If anything, also probably would have added some more slime, but I was keeping the slime for the frog related enemies, so I didn't do it here. But yeah, big tentacle monster. Didn't get to see him in the playthroughs I did, but in my defense, the game's not very good in my opinion in how it plays. I didn't find it very good at all. Not very balanced. Mantic do good miniatures, but I don't know how well they do their rule sets. Although you can let me know. I did briefly look at their Halo game, but I have no idea how it plays. Anyway, the Deacon, that was just Black Legion with a dry brushing of the Fang over it. Gloom Flesh for skin tone, that will apply to the little fire lady as well. And Garagag Sur, whatever it's called, for his beard, which is also the colour I used for her hair. He's got, in the official paint job, he's kind of got this glowing blue effect, like he's looking at a pet or something, so that's why I tried to emulate that with how I painted him. And then the Fire Lady, the fire is a mixture of Magmadroth Flame and Imperial Fist Yellow, with a little wash over the top of it that I can't remember the name offhand, but it'll be more important to talk about that once I get around to painting Phoenix for Crisis Protocol, because it'll be a much larger display, and I'm trying out a new orange wash the Citadel does. I can't quite remember what it's called, as I say, but we'll talk about it more then, because it'll be a much bigger example and I'll probably have more to say. In terms of her uniform and his uniform, once we get to him, that is Agros Dunes, so that's the colour I used underneath Gryph-hound for that base I was just talking about. And that's about it, really, and non-oil over everything when I was done. And then this last guy, I'm not super familiar with Hellboy, so I've forgotten their names, but either way, same set of colours: Black Legion, Agros Dunes, Leadbelcher Silver, non-oil, etc. Oh, and Snakebite Leather for the belts, buckles, I forgot about that, and the holsters, etc. So that is everything from the base box for Hellboy the board game. These plus the miniatures I've painted and played in the past. I'll now be looking to shift this, hopefully a profit, considering I spent the time painting it up, but either way, just happy to get rid of it because it wasn't a game for me. Fun models though, can't fault the models. I had fun painting them. So I pulled out a little bit to talk about these last 2 bits of terrain. What is that? Where did that come from? I don't even know what that is. It must have been stuck to the bottom of the terrain. No idea what that is. Anyway, we have 2 more sections of the Gallowdark terrain. And I mentioned last time I was using someone else's video tutorial, so I didn't want to talk about it too much because it isn't my technique. I'm just copying. But last time I mentioned I couldn't find the other dust, the rust dust they used. I found the darker tone and I had used that, but I hadn't found the lighter tone because it was out of stock. Since then, I have found it and I've decided to use it. And I mentioned last time I didn't really feel like it would make much difference having the 2-tone. I take that back. I feel like it definitely adds to the effect by having the 2-tone rust applied with the lighter tones piling up with like more recent dust. I feel like that effect is very, very nice and very much recommend using both the suggested tones of rust from that video. So yeah, as a matter of note, I just wanted to point that out. I'm obviously going to carry on painting more and more of the Gallowdark terrain. I'd also like to point out I kind of lucked into this looking really nice with the monitors, just with how I applied the green, because it kind of looks like there's a corridor with thick walls, so it actually looks like a security camera. That wasn't on purpose, and it just turned out so nice, and it was very, like, it's one of those literal happy accidents. So yeah, very nice. And yeah, as I was saying, I will be painting more of this terrain going forward. I might have it in the background just to mention, oh, by the way, I also did this, but I don't really have anything to say about it beyond what I've now added. So I will just have it there just to say, yes, it's done, if anything, or maybe not even have it. It's because there is a lot of it. There's so many more walls and doors and sections to get done. It's going to take a while, but there really isn't anything else to say about the process, and it's not my technique. So yeah, go back to the previous video if you want a link through to the video I'm using, and more. And then last time I also talked about some of the slightly different colors I was using, but in terms of the basic technique, I'm copying that video, and the rust effects, I'm using the exact same things as well, and that's what's doing a lot of the work. Like, the effect looks really nice, so highly recommended. It is an awesome look for just that old decaying like void ship in 40k. It's such a nice look. So that is all I had to add on that. One more thing, the rust still runs, and I don't know, I don't have a sealant to try and use, but that's just something to be aware of. I think that's just a sacrifice you have to make for it to look as good as it does. Anyway, that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted update. If you want to show me what you've been painting, feel free to do so via Blue Sky or my Discord server. That is cool with me. And from me, you can expect to see next time more Kill Team, more terrain, and beyond that, no, probably more Mechanicus specifically. Beyond that, hopefully Phoenix, if I find the time, or at least to get started on Phoenix, either Unleashed or normal Phoenix. I'm not sure which I'll be doing first. I might do her 2 constructs first as a test, just to make sure I know what I'm doing, or what I want to do with the fire effects. So we'll probably see that. Either way, I hope this inspired you to get through your pile of grey shame. Doesn't matter if you're a good painter or not, as long as you enjoy the process and use it to relax and chill and get through that pile of grey shame. I will see you in about 2 more weeks. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.